Well, Amanda, I want to welcome you to the Convert with Confidence Summit. I'm so excited to talk to you about this topic today because I know a lot of coaches and consultants or just business owners struggle with speaking. I mean, let's face it, right? Like you can have all the strategy in the world, but if you don't know how to deliver it in a way that's really impactful, it's like people don't end up taking us seriously or don't trust us and things like that come up. So Amanda, would you mind first telling the audience who you are, what you do, and what motivates you to do the work that you do?
Sure. And thank you so much for having me here today. These are things that I'm very passionate about, that I've worked a lot on in myself and have helped countless others to get so much more comfortable in their own skin to make that impact that they really long to make. And so I am a public speaking coach. I work with clients one-on-one, and I also work with groups, be it individuals who come together in a group format I provided, or else with companies and organizations. They'll call me in to work with their teams who are freaking out and losing sleep and feeling really anxious about being seen and being heard, even though they're really good at what they do. And I will say that I think there are a lot of unfair expectations placed on people, expecting that they should just know how to do this, right? They're like, you're a really good biologist. You spent a lot of time in a lab, those glasses and the lab coat. Now take all that you've learned here and be on stage and be engaging and don't be nervous and be an expert. Like, why? They're really different skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
You've started a business, you're an entrepreneur, you've figured a lot out, you're really good at business. They're different skill sets. They may be related, but I think then people really judge themselves for not naturally knowing how to manage the stimulation in the room, or even the stimulation on Zoom, right? Of all those windows coming up, people's cats in the background, people looking bored. So I'm really motivated to help people go deeper with self-acceptance and self-love so that the stakes are less high when they're sharing from that self, that deep need to get approval, which is very human. When we can give ourselves more approval, we need it less from that person we're speaking to. We need less from our audience, and we can have such a better time.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I didn't even think about this blind spot that we have where like, hey, if we're an expert at the thing, how come I can't talk about it? Like, why do I struggle speaking about what I'm good at? And it's like, I often hear this with my clients as well as a hypnotist, is like all eyes are on me, or like I'm in the spotlights. And that's where like the freak out happens, is when they see that group pouring into the room, right? And the seats are being filled. And there's often this anxiety associated with this, people filling the room and everything like that. So, I'm curious, Amanda, how can we start to shift into being more comfortable? Like when we are in that spotlight, or whether it's on a Zoom meeting or we're having a consultation with a client, how can we start to shift and be more comfortable being in the spotlight or having all eyes on us?
Sure. The center of attention. All right. So a great way to there's a few ways I think that we can reframe this for ourselves. One is we really think about whose center of attention matters. So let's picture that I'm in front of an audience and I'm teaching them things. Now, all of their attention may be on me. That's actually not the problem, or that doesn't need to be the problem. If we can think of it in terms of ourselves, like, where's my center of attention? If my center of attention is actually on the audience, really wanting to connect with them, see if they're getting it, and really make a point by giving them some eye contact, my center of attention is not worried about me at all. My consciousness, my center of attention is on them. The problem, the hell, is when I make myself the center of my own attention.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're looking at me. She hates my outfit. He thinks I'm dumb. Oh my God. And they're seeing my hand shake. I can see this. Oh my God, they're going to think I'm not an expert. Oh my God, this is horrible. I'm focusing on myself. That's the problem. So if you can keep your center of attention on that mission, on that sense of serving your audience, So much falls into place. Another way to frame this for yourself is to think about hosting. You're the host of this experience. Now, if you're someone who has enjoyed having people over to your home pre-pandemic, or maybe you're moving towards getting comfortable with that now, think about it, what it's like when you're a host. You're really focused on creating a great experience for your guests, and you're not so worried about yourself. You're thinking, "Ooh, what temperature do I want the room? What snacks do I want to provide? Will there be drinks? Will there be music? Oh, I want these two people to meet. I want to create good conversation. I want them to have a great time." I'm excited about creating that for others. I'm not so focused on me. I might not even eat the hors d'oeuvres that I slaved over making, because I'm really wanting people to have a great time. And so I think if we can think about public speaking in that way, we make it less about our ego. We make it less about, getting that approval, getting liked. We're more like, oh, I want to welcome everyone. I want to invite them into my world. I want to share my world with them. And even if you're on their territory, I often do workshops in companies. I've never walked in that building before. But once I'm in that conference room, like, great, this room is mine now. Welcome into my world. I want to share with you the way I see the world. I want to share with you what I've been thinking about. Come in, come in. So I think those are ways that we can just really shift the idea of going from being on the firing line where we're like, I need my last cigarette, to really just like, oh, I'd like to give you all chocolates. Right. So that's a way I've found people can almost immediately feel a visceral shift in their body. Like, oh, that feels safer. Because then we don't go to get a presentation, right? We go to give one. So we can think of like, oh, I'm hosting, I'm opening my heart, I'm bringing generosity in the room. I'm open to receiving, rather than I'm there defending myself from the judges.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like kind of this need to be perfect. And I find so many people are, well, first of all, they're already operating out of shame. Like for those of you coaches and consultants who are operating out of shame, maybe probably beyond even being in front of people, right? And, I remember, and you'll laugh at this probably, Amanda, I would memorize my talks, like word for word for word for word. And if I missed a word or I missed a sentence, I was like beating myself up. Or like, maybe if you're a coach or consultant, maybe you read a script, right? Maybe you have like a sales script in front of you and you're like, oh God, like I missed that question or I didn't do that. And it's just like, what happens is we're just not present with who's in front of us, right? Like, where's the connection when you're just like fumbling through papers or reading from an index card, right?
Totally. And I think that we need to really think about, what is this experience about? And we can make it about, it's a memorization exercise. And there's somebody watching. And if I say this instead of that, then I'm a failure. Okay. Like, and I don't think anyone's saying, hey, you know what? Next week, we'd like you to do a memorization test. Right. And so we've made it about that. We've made it a memorization test. And I understand why that need to memorize word for word is strong, because it feels like that's going to give us some sort of sense of control. And so we're like, I know the words, my body is out of control, but I know the words. Oh my God, I don't know the words.
Yeah.
So I do think that there are places where memorization can be incredibly helpful. Those transitions from idea to idea, say you're showing slides and you understand these slides, you're speaking about them. Wow, now how do you get to the next slide? There may be ways we want to memorize how to get from here to there, so it feels like a really smooth transition. If you're doing a pitch in a pitch competition and you only have 3 minutes, I think that's a great time to memorize. But we always want to make this deeply about, why are we saying what we're saying, not just like rattling off words that happen to be in a certain order. I have a background in performance and acting and teaching acting, and so much of it is like, what's behind the words? Why am I saying them? And when we can come back to why, instead of like, I'm reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, to the flag of the United States, where it feels like bereft of meaning. No. We can really make it like, wow, why do I say this? What's the impact I want to have on the audience? And that it's not just you in a vacuum spouting out words, trying to get it over with. It's like you're allowing your language, your verbal language, your tone, and your body to really be creating that experience. And so it's not just the one ingredient in getting the words out, it's really that experience you're having in community together.
Yeah. It sounds like what, oh yeah. Yeah, I definitely I definitely spent some time just practicing on my own, getting rid of ums and well, and actually replacing that with silence actually became much more powerful. And I love how you brought up this very robotic way that we end up sounding like when we memorize scripts and memorize speeches. And I can remember specifically for those of you who are out there perhaps at networking events, and you have to go around the room and introduce yourself. I remember at a BNI event, and everyone was going around the room and they're like, hi, I'm blah, blah, blah. I own this company and this is what I do. And I'm here for blah, blah, blah. And it was just like, what? I have no idea what they just said, but you can tell it was just I think what you call intentionality, right? Was just get it out. Let me just get it over with. But how much you're missing in this opportunity when you just your goal is to just get it out and get it over with, right? Can you talk a little bit more about, what is intention? Because I think it's very abstract for a lot of people. And how can we start to get in touch with our intention and maybe shift it so that we can be more effective and connect even more powerfully?
And not seem like we're about to explode into flames when we're at a networking event, explaining what we do. I do this, stop looking at me. So yes, and actually it's interesting. I just started the first iteration of a group coaching program I'm doing. And the very first thing we did is I said, okay, great. Who loves introducing themselves to a group? And I was like, raise those hands high. And everyone's like, I was like, great. You know what we're going to start with? Someone else is going to introduce you. I'm actually going to have you go into breakout rooms, have somebody else get to know you, and they're going to introduce you. Because what I wanted to do was get to that intention. I'm like, so think about, and I told them the questions I wanted them to ask the other person. And I also then said, I want you to think about how is it you want the person to feel? How do you want the person you're introducing to feel? How do you want the audience to feel about what you're doing? And so I think that helped people get rooted in that intent. Okay, I would imagine the person you're introducing, you want them to feel really good about what they do and what their goals are and what their mission is. And when you share that fun fact, and then also, wow, how do I want my audience to feel? Because we have to go back to, why are we introducing ourselves? Yeah. Is it to torture us? We maybe could take it that way, you have to do this thing, but really it's so that people know who we are and how we could contribute to the society at large, right? So how we could do this. So we can go into a networking thing and think about, great, how can I introduce myself in a way that helps people get a little bit of my energy and also lets them know how I could be of service, right? And so for me as a public speaking coach, I'm often like, how do I create a sense of safety immediately? Because people are coming to me because they're scared. They're really strung out. They need a safe place to be very honest about how scared they are and to be able to move forward. And so I'm wanting to create with my energy and my words a sense of safety and a sense of explaining in really clear language what I do. So it's not just to tell you about myself, it's really to start that relationship. And so if we're going around in the company hi, I'm Marcy, I'm from accounting. And if you are somebody who's, wondering about your expense reports or how to do something with your budget, I'm the person to speak to. So it's relational. It's not just, again, standing up and reciting a poem in third grade where we're like, I don't have any idea why we're doing this and I hate it.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah.
I think people don't often realize there's two sides to this coin. It's having the knowledge to present, but then actually the skills to deliver in a way that's like people can remember it, people are, engaged. And we're not talking about everyone, right? There's always going to be that one person who might look at their phone, look at their watch. And I remember I used to take that personally, that person on the Zoom call who isn't, you can't see them, it's just their photo. Yeah. And we end up internalizing that. Like, how many of you watching here, I can guarantee you everybody here has internalized a yawn or a look bored. And what, like, this guilt and shame, like there's something wrong with us, right? It's just an old pattern that we tend to go into from the past.
Totally. And I think it's a lot of projection. We make up a tremendous amount of stories of what things mean. She did this, it means this. Okay. Do we have any, somebody's looking at their phone right before they got on Zoom. Did they suddenly hear that their kid fell off a jungle gym at school? And so they're like, I'm so here and I so need to see if the school nurse needs me to come in right now.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, my wife has just served me with divorce papers. I'm weird now. I'm in hell. And like, so not. People are having complicated lives just like you are. And it's really how to have this be more, about the more present we are in that moment with our audience, the more likely we'll be able to bring them in even when they're distractible. And so if suddenly I let that distract me, I see their distracted eye motions and I'm like, oh my God, that's weird. Other people watching me are seeing me be distracted. And now they're like, oh, she's distracted and weird. Now I see them and I'm like, oh my God, now they're weird. Now we're just weirding. It's like a pinball of weirdness. Or if we can just stay focused and be like, all right, I don't know what's going on with them, but I'm going to keep sharing. I'm inviting people into my world to have a good experience. And I'm not going to take it personally. Now, if everyone looks bored out of their minds, you probably need to jazz it up. You need to tell a joke. You need to do something. If you're like, some of these people all have something in common.
Yeah. And it's interesting when I used to struggle with being in the spotlight or, having all eyes on me, it was like those situations were threats versus now it's like, if I see someone yawn, I'm like, oh, what an opportunity, right? What an opportunity to like connect with that one person. Maybe not directly, you don't want to call them out, right? But like, crack a joke like, hey, I get it. I haven't had my coffee either. Right?
No, and because everything we want to do, if we think about presenting as the art of continually being present, I do think that's a little bit of it, is that let's say we're on the East Coast, it suddenly starts snowing a tremendous amount. If you're in the room with people, or even if they're on Zoom, they're going to start looking out the window because this phenomenon is happening and they're wondering, oh my gosh, kids at school. Oh my goodness, I have to shovel. Oh my God, are my plans canceled? And so, but when we get into the present of like, hey, everyone, I am noticing it is snowing a tremendous amount. Let me acknowledge what's true. Let me acknowledge the potential distraction, the possible distraction. And then say, let's say we were in person. I might say, I think what we're going to do is take just a minute for people to check their phones to see if there's anything they need to address. Come on back and we're going to keep going. Or I see, it's like really taking into account what is happening in the moment so that we're not like, I'm going to pretend this fire alarm is going off. I'm just going to keep talking and say every line the way I practice it because I don't know how to handle this. Because then if I acknowledge the distraction, I acknowledge the fact that it's some world championship game of some sort. Like, hey, I know the big game is happening in an hour and everyone's excited to see it. So I'm gonna tell you why it's important we be here together. We'll get really focused. I'm gonna do my best to get you out of here soon.
Love it.
Everyone's like, oh, she gets it. Great. I'm going to tell you why I'm making you be at this meeting. Or like, it's really when we acknowledge the things that are slightly distracting. Hey, everyone, I know this is an early meeting. I really appreciate you being here. I want to tell you why it was so important we meet before 9 a.m. And I want to explain, I get this is a pain. and why. Because I think when people know the why, they're more invested, then they feel they're in good hands, because you're the leader in that moment. Like, how can they feel they're in good hands? And then you get them because they're not distracted by that thing. They're with you again.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is like what you're doing is you're validating their experience, right? From a hypnotist perspective or maybe a therapy perspective. It's like you're giving them that validation. And I can see this being so powerful on a sales conversation. In fact, just earlier this morning, I'm talking to a new prospect and like we're on the same page, speaking the same language. And all of a sudden there's this like, hold up. Like I gotta like, she was like back and when I said the price, right? I was like, okay, when are we going to schedule? She's like, whoa, I could feel resistance, right? And typically what we want to do is go, oh no, what do I do? Did I say the wrong thing? What do I say now? Right? Where's my script? And instead, yeah.
Don't leave the meeting, Sharon. Don't leave it. Stay. I can't find the script.
So powerful. Yeah. And instead, I just said, hey, what's happening right now? I was like, I feel what's going on and I totally get it. I'm telling you, like, I get it can feel intimidating, the price, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, next thing you know, there's this, because you just let them know, whoa, I see you. I'm here with you. And this is really, I think, especially when it comes to handling objections, where this is so powerful, right? To be present with them, to validate them, to let them know that what you're experiencing is real, right? It is early in the morning and we're tired. And maybe this is a meeting we do once a month and people just don't want to be there. And maybe it's scary for this prospect to reach out for help. Right.
Totally. And also I love that what you're demonstrating in that moment is what it would be like to work with you.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like, cause everything is about like, it's like, how do people feel in your energy? And so you being like, so what she's learning in that moment, is it safe for her to be real, or that you're intuitive, you pick up on things that you're like, hey, let's talk about it. You're not like, I can't believe you're rejecting me in this moment. You know what I mean? You're not like, I'm hurt. You're not doing all the things I demonstrated a little bit ago, right? You're more like, it's like we're having the relationship, that relational moment that helps people know, oh, this is what it would be like for me to invest that money. Oh, that felt pretty good. We didn't talk about stuff in my family. Actually, I really liked that moment where they didn't, like they were wanting to talk about it and not push me. Right. So I think all of that's beautiful.
And that's where connections really made with the audience, right? It's in those moments where they're about to disconnect, where you go, hang on, and you kind of pivot, or whether it's like some sort of pattern interrupt, and you use some comedy or something like that to kind of break the monotony. And Amanda, what, is there like one tip you can give this audience about handling nerves in that moment? Let's say all of this sounds great. How do I even start? What is like, do you have like one little tip that people can start to do to shift and maybe calm these nerves in the moment, maybe before they're about to even dial that number or get on that Zoom meeting?
I want to like say many points about this, but you can cut me off when I've said too many. It's okay to be nervous. I think that people, the self-judgment can start in when we're like, I should never be nervous.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Yet you will sign up for things because you're like, I want to get out of my comfort zone. I really want to do that. Click, bye. And then, so if we're out of our comfort zone, we are in our uncomfortable zone. We are uncomfortable, and our body doesn't lie. It like will tell us when we're like, whoa, what's happening? And we can decide that that's terrible. It's bad. It's just bad if my hands are shaking. It's bad. It's terrible. And like, stop it. We can really get mean. And yeah, if a little kid was next to us saying like, I am scared, and you're like, shut up. What's wrong with you? Like, does that help that kid? He's less scared. It does not. But if it's like, it's okay. It's okay. Even just like saying like, okay, it's okay that my palms are a little sweaty. Let's go back to what this is really about. Is this about me having non-sweaty palms? Is this a memorization competition? No, it is not. This is about me making a true connection with somebody and wanting to serve them. Like we want to get that focus off of ourselves and like really what experience am I creating for the other people? Because we hook it, it's different than like us turning the spotlight on us, right? So that's like, it's not about you really. Like if we can, and it's not about you being perfect. I think it's just, yeah. And allowing also yourself to breathe. So if we can, I find with Zoom sometimes I'm wanting to like I want to get closer to you, Lydia. So I want to like get into the thing and my posture gets terrible. But if we can even like, all right, am I breathing? Are my feet on the floor? It's okay that I'm having the stimulus, and actually let me have a little energy. I'll use this energy to be a little, have some excitement on the phone, have some passion. Because they may say like, I just want to be perfectly calm. But if I was like perfectly calm, I think it could be a little boring if I like did this whole half hour with you in this really calm voice, right? I don't know. So those are some of the things I tell my people so they can, because they get nervous about being nervous. Like, oh no, it's happening. And that means all these things. It means I'm not an expert. It means I'm an imposter. It means like, let's give it no meaning. If your face turns bright red, decide you look great in red. Then you're like, great, I look awesome.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is like, it's almost about like accepting everything that's going on in the moment and make yourself okay with it, and the audience will be okay with it. In fact, I think, one of the ways I open one of my speeches is, 5 years ago, if I stood up in front of all of you here, I would have froze up like this. I would have frozen up in front of all of you, like sharing, being vulnerable, right? Because you're speaking their language, right? Everybody gets some nerves in front of a group to some degree. I would imagine. I don't know who doesn't. Maybe there are people out there who get no nerves, and that's awesome. But I think most people do get that feeling in front of a group. So just being vulnerable and be like, holy cow, look at my hand. It's waving high and shaking at the same time.
Yes, and apparently I care about this experience.
Love it.
Great. I'm glad you care. It means something to you. Well, good. Because I think often when we're a little bored, it often tells us we need a new job or we need to work with a different kind of client. Yeah. Or like we're like, this is just feeling stagnant. That's when we're not nervous at all sometimes. So sometimes I think that adrenaline, and we can think about like, when do we kind of have a tolerance for it? Yeah. Is it when we're about to go on a date? Is it when we're about to go to a concert? Is it when we're about to travel? Because that's all, there's lots of unknowns in there too. And so if we can, and again, I think when we go back to why am I doing this, that can help us know what our nerves are about. If I make it about my reputation and my ego, my nerves really act up. If I make it about, oh, I know I can help people sleep better at night. I know I can help them just feel so much more comfortable in their own skin. I know I can help them like do really well, sharing who they are and the work they do, then I'm not worried about me, right? It's when I make it about like, what are they going to think about me? Are they going to think this? Do they worry about that? Like, oh gosh, so stressful.
Yeah, it's like when you're seeking validation from them, it's like, that's not what this is about. This is not a validation seeking like meeting.
It's not a referendum on your self-worth, but it's really easy unconsciously to make it that way. And I think a nice mantra before going in is either like, I am enough or I am more than enough. And then, or else I release the need to prove my worth.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to prove that the way you're going to work with clients is effective. Great. Prove that. But like, let's not make it about something that you inherently have, which is worth and value. Yeah. So we just want to have that not come into this equation, this vulnerability.
For those of you watching, this should be like such a transformational like 20 minutes for you all. I think this insight of this is not about me was like the light bulb that went off. That was like, hold on a second. It's not about me. Like, why am I here? And what it came down to was it wasn't even about them. It was about the message, like my message, and just delivering that message, and whatever they do with it is whatever they do with it. But just your job is just to show up and get it out, right? And whether people take it, they're listening, it's not, it's out of your control. And it's just unbelievable how that took off all that weight from my shoulders as well.
So much weight, and we want to get it out there, and then we can start to play with what would be a fun way to say this. What would be a compelling way to say this? What question could I ask the audience that would get them thinking, that would challenge some beliefs they have around this? How can I get in there, right? We can, then our creativity comes rather than utter terror and dread.
Yeah, let's make it a fun experience. How about that, guys?
Please don't be boring. Please don't be boring.
And I know, Amanda, as we wrap up here, I know you have a free gift for this audience. One that, one gift where this certain group reaches out to you in the next 24 hours, you have a gift. And then also another way for people to sign up in a workshop you have coming up. Can you tell us more about what you have?
Sure. So I'd love to offer the first 8 people who reach out to me basically a free copy of my book. It's a book called Your Guide to Public Speaking. And in it, I have so many strategies on so many different things. It really is something you can flip through and find, what's that topic you're worried about? Are you the maid of honor? What has your friend done to you? You can read about how to do that. How do I make good slides? How do I manage my nervous system? How do I manage the energy in the room? All those things. It's chock full of strategies. And it also has a lot of case studies of actual work I've done with clients who have been interviewing or on television or needing to work on vocal variety, getting rid of ums, all those kinds of things, all chock full in this book. So the first 8 people who reach out will get a free copy of that. And for everyone else, I would love to offer you a summit rate as opposed to the regular rate for an upcoming workshop called Prep with Confidence. And in this, so let's face it, often the conversation, the presentation, the pitch is much shorter than the days, hours, minutes, even weeks or months preparing for it. And so if the hours, days, weeks, months, minutes are more comfortable, just think how much better that event is actually going to go. So in this workshop, I'll be helping people find that mindset that their nervous system really likes. So we come from that place of knowing we have value, of self-acceptance and love, and that we really know how to plan and prepare for when we're there. So we actually might even look forward to presenting. We might even look forward to those riskier things because we've been able to apply our creativity because our instrument, we've got our voice, our imagination, our body is ready to go. We've taken care of it on the way in different ways. So yes, so I would love to offer a special summit rate for that. And that workshop will be coming up in early April.
Yes. Yeah. For those of you watching, do not miss these free gifts. If you are like, I have the sales script, I have the strategy, but people aren't converting or people aren't taking you seriously, there's something in your delivery. So go click the link below, go email Amanda. For the first 8 people only, get a free copy of her book. They will be gone like this. So I would urge you to act now. And for everyone else, you get the summit rates to her upcoming workshop. Do not miss this. I can already tell from her energy, like, oh my gosh, I get excited by this. So this,
and I'll say that you'll get that rate if you jump in the first 24 hours after our time together here.
Yeah. Yep. So for those of you watching,
so jump in. I would love to work with you and we'll help you get rid of those
Yes, let's get rid of the ums, let's get rid of the nerves. And this is only available, the summit rate special is only available for 24 hours from the delivery of this interview. So go get it now before it expires. And Amanda, thank you so much for your time here today. What valuable advice and tips. Like this should transform your next talk for those of you watching. Or sales conversation.
I sure hope so, because it feels so much better when we come from a place that's beautiful and know what we're doing. So thanks for having me, Lydia. I love chatting with you.
Thanks, Amanda. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for watching and joining us today.